This is Don Lemon. Tonight we have got breaking news on the chaos in Washington right now. Democrats are battling their own in a desperate attempt to push President Joe Biden's agenda across that finish line. A source is telling CNN that the president is expected to attend a House Democratic Caucus meeting on Capitol Hill bright and early tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., delaying his departure for Europe by a few hours in an effort to convince progressives to vote for the infrastructure bill tomorrow. That, as a whole lot of Democrats are furious tonight, that paid family and medical leave is now likely to end up on the scrap heap, out, along with free tuition for community college, marginal tax rate increases, and the clean energy program. Joe Manchin says he doesn't think that the paid leave policy should be in the bill at all. One Democratic senator telling CNN, quote, "People are pissed he wants to take out paid family leave."
The problem is not with the president. The problem is with members here who, although they are very few in number, they are a significant minority, think that they have a right to determine what the rest of the Congress should be doing. The minority should not be dictating to the majority.
The president's initial 12-week family leave proposal was scaled back to 4 weeks in an effort to get Manchin's support. That didn't work. Neither apparently has an effort by Senator Kristen Gillibrand to find a compromise with Manchin, who says tonight, quote, "I just can't do it." So the question is, can Democrats get out of their own way and make a deal with just hours to go until the president's trip? And we have some breaking news tonight on the investigation of the shooting on the set of Alec Baldwin's movie Rust that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins and wounded director Joel Souza. The district attorney saying this just tonight.
There are safety procedures and protocols that are supposed to be followed by everyone in the industry, and it seems like that did not happen in this case on multiple levels.
Now, there is a new search warrant affidavit with a shocking revelation. The assistant director, David Halls, failed to fully check the gun that fired the fatal shot before he handed it to Alec Baldwin. Again, that's according to the affidavit. The affidavit also revealing 24-year-old Hannah Reed Gutierrez, working on only her second movie as an armorer, told investigators no live ammo is ever kept on the set. But that's not what the sheriff says. In a press conference today, he said the gun discharged by Alec Baldwin fired a suspected live round.
Well, I think the facts are clear. A weapon was handed to Mr. Baldwin. The weapon is functional and fired a live round, killing Ms. Hutchins and injuring Mr. Souza.
He also said investigators have recovered what they believe to be additional live rounds on the set.
The actual lead projectile that was fired has been recovered from the shoulder of Mr. Souza. We regard this specific spent casing and recovered projectile to be the live round that was fired from the revolver by Mr. Baldwin. We have recovered what we believe to be possible additional live rounds on set.
So many questions raised during that press conference. And in this case, I don't know, it may turn on the answers. We'll see what happens. Why was there so much ammunition, live ammunition on a movie set? How many live rounds were there? And was there a lack of seriousness about safety on this particular set? There's a lot to be answered. As I said, there's lots of breaking news tonight. We want to get to the news that's happening in Washington, D.C. first on Capitol Hill. I want to bring in CNN congressional correspondent Jessica Dean and White House correspondent Arlette Saenz. Good evening to both of you. Thank you so much for joining. So here we go. It's getting down to the wire. Jessica, there's been so much movement on this spending bill tonight. It seems like negotiations are changing by the minute. Where do things stand right now?
Yeah, they truly are, Don. It was a whirlwind of activity up here today, and it will be tomorrow as well. Just to give you kind of the headlines here, they're still searching for a top-line number, how much this will ultimately cost them, and also exactly how they're going to pay for all of that. So the revenue, how are they going to create the money to pay for this? And then there's the issues, the separate provisions that would be going into this bill. So we'll just start with expanding Medicare. You saw Senator Bernie Sanders. You had that clip right at the beginning of your show. I had just asked him, he'd been to the White House. I'd asked him what assurances he got got from President Biden. And you heard him say it's not the president that's the problem on this. It's people in the minority in the Senate. So they are continuing to push for that to expand to dental, vision, and hearing. Also, a Medicaid expansion to the 12 states that so far have not done that. I talked to Senator Tammy Baldwin today. She told us a little bit about a compromise that would allow them to, instead of starting a whole new federal Medicaid program for that expansion, instead subsidize essentially plans through Obamacare. So they're working on that, again, trying to make sure that Senator Manchin will get on board with that as they seek to expand Medicaid and fully insure as many people as possible. And then you've got prescription drug negotiating costs for that. We know that Kyrsten Sinema and others who have pharmaceutical companies in their home states or districts have really pushed back and had resistance to that. That continues to be played out. Paid leave, as you mentioned at the very beginning of your show, that appears to be dropping off. Although I will tell you, once that news broke late this evening when we were here, they were going through their final vote series, and there were some very upset Democratic senators, and also on the House side as well, at the idea that this could get dropped from the package. So Senator Gillibrand and Patty Murray saying they're continuing to push Manchin on this as well. And then climate probably is the one, Don, that right now has a lot of optimism from people. We got a letter from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. We saw that. She sent it to House Democrats earlier today. She was very optimistic about their climate proposals. We're hearing that it could be upwards of $500 billion. That's going to be the biggest chunk of money in this package, likely.
Arlette, I want to bring you in because, look, it's a big deal. This is a big trip for the president, and you know that this is a big deal since we were hearing that he's delaying his foreign trip to meet with to meet with House Democrats tomorrow morning. Is he going to be twisting some arms? Does he expect to close a deal before he goes?
Well, Don, the White House had long been entertaining the possibility of having President Biden go in person to make this appeal to House Democrats. Ultimately, they wanted to make sure that it would be beneficial to the process. So tomorrow, the president will be heading up to Capitol Hill in the morning to meet with those House Democrats. A source I just spoke with said he'd be speaking to them in person to specifically update them on the progress when it comes to that bipartisan infrastructure proposal and also the larger economic package. But the president certainly was hoping to head into this foreign trip with some type of agreement on his top legislative priorities. One big question going forward, we've heard that House Democratic leaders would like to schedule a vote on that bipartisan infrastructure proposal, but progressives are still insisting that they want to see some actual legislative text that could be voted on and not just a framework. They want to actually see the tangibles of what this plan is going to look like. The Congresswoman Jayapal, the head of the Progressive Caucus, had said that simply having the president come and ask for them to vote for the bill wasn't necessarily going to get her members on board. So we will see tomorrow what kind of heavy lift the president might have ahead for him as he is meeting with those House Democrats. He could be postponed. That meeting's supposed to be around 9 a.m. We don't have a time yet for when he will be leaving for Rome, but the White House has said he can only delay his trip by just a little bit based on all of the timing, as he has that very important meeting with the Pope starting on Friday. So the White House is certainly acting with a real sense of urgency, talking to those two key holdout senators, Manchin and Sinema, but also trying to take in those concerns of Senator Bernie Sanders. That's why you saw Senator Sanders here at the White House meeting with the president for a little over an hour today. So the president is really trying to take a handle on all sides within his Democratic Party as he is hoping that they can come together and push his economic agenda across the finish line.
Arlette, let me ask you about something that Jessica mentioned earlier, and that is a paid family leave. That is the cornerstone of the president's agenda. How big of a blow is it if this is out of this plan?
I mean, it's pretty big. This was a central component of what the president had been proposing. You'll remember that they had originally touted there would be 12 weeks of paid family leave. That was later whittled down to just 4 weeks. And it was in our town hall last week with Anderson Cooper where the president was touting this and talking about how the American people really would, they support this type of measure and that they want to see this type of assistance. Now we are learning that it is likely scrapped completely from the plan. That is a concession to Senator Joe Manchin, who had expressed reservations about including that in this proposal. And there are other elements of the president's plan that just aren't making the cut anymore when it comes to free community college, raising the corporate tax rate. It was just a few hours ago, actually, that the White House was even touting that paid family leave as one of the historic investments in this plan. Of course, there are other things that this White House will be touting if this deal comes together. There's such as free preschool and other incentives like the one-year extension of the child tax credit. But that paid family leave, having that out of this plan is a very significant blow to this White House.
Yeah, that is a cornerstone.